Hello, dear student. I'm your chemistry teacher, Miss Sunny.
All right, today we're getting into the blueprint for literally everything. We're talking about the fundamental building block of you, of me, of the entire universe, the atom. Let's jump right in and see how it all fits together. I mean, really think about it. It seems like such a simple question, right? But the answer is just, well, it's kind of mind-blowing. If you could zoom in on your own hand, way past the cells, way past the molecules, you'd find these tiny, incredible little structures that we're going to talk about today. So let's just imagine shrinking ourselves down to the atomic scale. This is a whole new world. The rules we know, they don't really apply here. We're stepping into a place that's run by charge, mass, and the, super weird laws of quantum mechanics. This right here, this is the starting line for all of chemistry. Okay, so if we're going to build an atom from scratch, we need to know what our materials are. What are the core pieces we're working with? Well, it turns out there are really just three fundamental particles we need to get a handle on. And here they are, our three key players, the proton, the neutron, and the electron. You can see all their stats laid out. Protons have that positive charge, electrons are negative, and neutrons, well, they're neutral. They don't pick a side. But here's the really important part. Look at the mass. Protons and neutrons are the heavyweights, right? They make up the atom's dense core. And the electron, by comparison, it's a total featherweight. We're talking over 1,800 times lighter. It's barely there in terms of mass. And this is such a cool way to see how those properties actually make them behave. If you fire these particles through an electric field, their path tells you the whole story. The positive proton, naturally, curves down toward the negative plate. The neutron, with no charge, doesn't care at all and just flies straight through. And the electron? Look at that sharp curve. Because it's negative and super light, the positive plate yanks it way off course. That tiny mass means the electric field can just toss it around like a rag doll. So we've got our components. Protons and neutrons are pretty simple. They just hang out in the nucleus. But the electrons? Oh, the electrons are the real story here. See, they aren't just buzzing around randomly like a swarm of bees. No, they follow a really strict set of rules, like a kind of cosmic address system that tells them exactly where they're allowed to be. That's right, you can't just stick an electron anywhere you feel like. To figure out its exact location and energy, you need a totally unique address. And that address is made up of 4 quantum numbers. You can seriously think of it like a country, a city, a street, and a house number. Every single electron in an atom has its own, and, this is key, no two can share the exact same address. First up is the principal quantum number, which we call N. This is the big picture part of the address. It's the city. It tells us the main energy level or shell that the electron is in. A small n, like 1 or 2, means the electron is hanging out close to the nucleus, with low energy. A bigger n means it's farther out, in a bigger shell, and has a lot more energy. Okay, next we need to find the street using the azimuthal quantum number, or L. Inside each of those big energy shells, there are subshells, and L actually describes their shape. The simplest one is a perfect sphere, the s orbital. Then you get these dumbbell-shaped p orbitals and even crazier d and f shapes. This number tells us what kind of neighborhood the electron lives in. And now for the house number, the magnetic quantum number, or M. This tells us the orbital's orientation in 3D space. For example, that dumbbell p subshell isn't just one house. It's actually 3 of them, all sitting at right angles to each other, like one along an x-axis, one on the y, and one on the z. M tells us which of those 3 specific houses the electron is in. And finally, we have the occupant itself, the spin quantum number, S. Now this is a property that's just built into the electron, like its charge. It can only have one of 2 values, which we call spin up and spin down. And here's the rule. If you have 2 electrons in the very same orbital, the same house, they must have opposite spins. They have no choice. And this is absolutely critical to how atoms work. When 2 electrons share an orbital, one has to spin one way and the other has to spin the opposite way. By pairing up like this, their tiny magnetic fields cancel each other out, which makes the atom more stable. They're like perfect roommates who have to be total opposites to get along. Okay, so parts? Check. Address system? Check. Now we need the instruction manual. We need the non-negotiable rules for how we actually build an atom by filling up these orbitals with our electrons. And lucky for us, there are really only 3 main rules. First, the Aufbau principle. You build from the ground up. Always fill the lowest energy orbitals first. Second, the Pauli exclusion principle, which we just talked about. No 2 electrons in the same atom can have the exact same 4 quantum numbers. And third, Hund's rule. This one basically says, be fair. When you've got a bunch of orbitals with the same energy, put 1 electron in each before you start giving any of them a second one. Spread them out before you pair them up. This chart right here, this is the key to the whole thing. This is your roadmap for that Aufbau principle. You just follow the arrows. Simple. You fill 1s, then 2s, then 2p, then 3s, then 3p. But then, wait a second. Look closely. The roadmap takes a weird turn. We jump to the 4s orbital before we go back and fill the 3d. So what's up with that? Well, the answer is a really simple little calculation called the N plus L rule. See, nature is lazy. It always fills the lowest energy orbital it can. This rule helps us predict that order. So for that 4s orbital, N is 4 and L is 0. So N plus L equals 4. For the 3d orbital, N is 3 and L is 2, which gives us 5. Since 4 is less than 5, the 4s orbital actually has less energy, so it gets filled first. This one little rule explains the entire filling order of the periodic table. It's that powerful. So why are we obsessing over all this tiny microscopic detail? Because this is where the magic happens. An atom's internal electron structure is what determines its entire personality, how it's going to behave, what it will react with, and exactly where it fits on the periodic table. Just take atomic size, for example. It follows this beautiful, predictable pattern. When you go down a column on the table, you're adding a whole new electron shell, a new N value, so of course the atoms get bigger. Makes sense. But as you move from left to right across a row, you're adding more protons to the nucleus, and that stronger positive charge pulls all the electrons in tighter, actually making the atom smaller. And that size has a direct effect on how tightly an atom holds on to its outermost electrons. We measure this with something called ionization energy, basically how much energy it takes to rip an electron away. And as you can see, the trend is pretty much the exact opposite of atomic size. Small atoms with a powerful nucleus, like fluorine up here, have a death grip on their electrons. They have a really high ionization energy. But huge atoms like cesium way down here have their outer electrons so far away that it's super easy to pluck off. It all goes back to that electron structure we've been talking about. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This is an incredibly detailed model. It's very specific, but how in the world can we possibly know all of this is true? Well, the cool thing is, this isn't just some theory we made up. Every single piece of it is backed up by solid experimental evidence. One of the biggest pieces of evidence actually comes from light. If you pump energy into an atom, maybe you heat it up or zap it with electricity, its electrons get excited and jump up to higher energy levels. But they can't stay there. When they fall back down, they release that extra energy as light. And here's the kicker. They don't give off a smooth rainbow. They emit very specific sharp lines of color. This unique atomic fingerprint is proof that an electron's energy levels are quantized. They can only exist on specific steps of an energy ladder, and nowhere in between. And what about the nucleus? How do we know what's in there? For that, we use an amazing machine called a mass spectrometer. You can think of it as a super precise scale just for atoms. It basically weighs them by separating them based on their mass-to-charge ratio. This lets us measure the exact mass of atoms, which confirms how many protons and neutrons are inside. It's even how we discovered that elements can have different isotopes. So let's end with this thought. The real beauty of understanding atomic structure isn't just about knowing how one little atom works. It's about realizing we have the fundamental blueprint and the universal assembly manual for everything. With these rules, we can understand the patterns, we can predict properties, and we can unlock the behavior of all the elements in the universe. It really is the foundation of it all.